And if anyone, thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Carol Burns. I'm with the Bethlehem Co-op Market, and I'm welcoming you on behalf of myself and the co-op, and also Matt Rothfuss from the library, and he's working behind the scenes tonight. So we're very excited to present this next session of our webinar series. This is our 4th year, and we present informative webinars through the winter months. And we've had a really terrific response to all of them. And I'm sure that you're going to find tonight's information very valuable and interesting as well. So I'm not going to talk too much longer. I'm going to turn it over to our guest speaker, Lauren, and we will have some PSAs and updates for you at the end of this. But as a reminder, this presentation will be available on the library's YouTube channel and also on the co-op's website, so that you can, if you can share it or share it with others, go back and review it at your leisure. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Lauren. Take it away, Lauren.
Thanks so much, Carol. Welcome, everyone. Can everyone hear me okay? Okay.
I can.
Great. Thank you so much. So I just want to really thank the Bethlehem Area Public Library and the Bethlehem Co-op Market for inviting Blue Zones to be here to talk tonight and really just inform the community a little bit about Blue Zones Activate Bethlehem. So this presentation is called Be in the Know. So I'm hoping to be able to provide some Blue Zones background information, kind of what is going on in Bethlehem with the Blue Zones Activate initiative, and provide some additional information that hopefully will be of interest to all of you. So again, my name is Lauren. I am the Community Transformation Director for Blue Zones Activate in Bethlehem. Our Blue Zones initiative is actually in 3 cities currently. So there is an Allentown Blue Zones project, which is a bigger scoped project. And then there is a Bethlehem and Easton Activate policy initiative going on currently. So we have this amazing opportunity to have this collaborative regional approach from a Blue Zones perspective that we're very excited to be doing in the Lehigh Valley. A little bit about my background. I've worked for the last decade as a healthcare social worker, specifically within hospice care, as well as creating an end-of-life doula program at my previous employer. And I also owned a food business called Nortport, the Cheese Ball Company, which many of you may be familiar with. I did a lot of events throughout the Lehigh Valley, specifically Bethlehem and Easton, and was at various farmers markets throughout that time frame. And I actually sold my business back in the spring and felt a lot of my free time was being spent within the health and wellness world. And I just had the time to kind of pivot and care about, healthy eating, natural movement, and a lot of what Blue Zones is really founded around and what our mission is. So Blue Zones was hiring. I was really drawn to their proactive wellness approach, specifically environmental changes to nudge individuals towards healthy habits based off of their environment. And that's how I kind of came to be where I'm at today. So very, very happy to be working in such a progressive city like Bethlehem, which has already implemented so many Blue Zones-esque things throughout, the work that the city has done over over the time that they've been doing work in Bethlehem, and just very excited to be here with all of you. So Blue Zones, tonight we're going to go over what they are. We're going to go over something called the Power 9, a term called the life radius that Blue Zones uses, Blue Zones Activate Bethlehem, how we got here in Bethlehem, where we're going, and the future of Blue Zones Activate in Bethlehem, and any questions that you may have that I would be able to provide more information or clarification on. So our purpose is to empower everyone everywhere to live better longer. Our goal is quality of life over quantity of life. So although Blue Zones was founded on, many people living well into their hundreds, our goal is for, better increased quality of life and happiness as one ages. So that's really our purpose and the work that we're doing throughout the 3 cities currently. And many of you may wonder, where did Blue Zones come from? How did it start? So it all began with this gentleman by the name of Dan Buettner. He did a 20-year longevity study to find the world's healthiest people. So back in 2004, he worked with National Geographic, traveling, all over the world to do research based off of these 5 areas that he then coined as blue zones. And the reason they were called blue zones was as he was traveling to these areas, finding, individuals that were living such long, vibrant lives, he was making marks on the map with a blue marker. And then they were later, called blue zones. So a pretty simple story as to how we got the name. He later was able to publish his results of all of the research he did in 2005 with National Geographic. It is still to this day the 3rd best-selling issue that they've had. And then after that, he actually went on to write a series of New York Times best-selling books. There are so many of them at this point, I can't even keep track, but many varieties of, well-being initiatives and secrets to implement into your life to live a longer, more vibrant lifestyle. So the blue zones, what or where are they? So there are 6 on this map, and Singapore actually is not one of the initial blue zones, but I will get into that in a little bit to tell you a little bit more about that. But Okinawa, Japan. So Okinawa, Japan was really known for its strong social connections. When Dan, visited there, people who lived in that area were very into gardening. They followed a very strict plant-based diet, a diet high in soy, and they really, really had a great sense of purpose, which then drove, their longevity, which we'll see in a little bit when we go over the Power 9. Loma Linda, California, that area was really categorized by a large population of Seventh-day Adventists, and their belief system really focuses a lot on community, a lot of physical activity, volunteering, which drove longevity in that area. They also had a pretty vegetarian-based diet, spent time with like-minded friends, which really, really drove their purpose and belonging as well. And then we have the Nicoya Peninsula in Costa Rica. It's really known for its low rates of heart disease and cancer. Their social networks that they have, they are very, very hard workers, as well as its active lifestyle and strong social support. Icaria, Greece is an island that focuses a lot on a Mediterranean diet, has low stress levels. People living on the island's highlands really need to exercise and naturally move to be able to obtain food and gardening, walking to the neighbors' homes. So they're really, they implement natural movement into their daily lifestyle, which, adds to their longevity that they have in that area specifically. Sardinia, Italy, really puts family first. They celebrate their elders. They eat a diet rich in olive oil and fish. They walk often, and they like to have a glass or two, of red wine. And then we have Singapore. So that's the 6th one on this map. So this actually was not one of the Blue Zones LLC coined Blue Zones area, but it was an engineered longevity hotspot that was added that really implemented policy that drove longevity. So back in 1960, the average age that an individual was living was 65. They implemented these environmental changes, including education and changes in health and well-being, nurses coming into the home and into the community, talking to residents, informing and providing education on well-being and food, implementing cooking classes, and all of this amounted to increasing their longevity by 20 years. So I like to bring that up because I think it's a a huge testament to the work that we are doing within the Blue Zones projects, as well as the Activate. The Bethlehem and Easton Blue Zones Activate are really focused heavily on policy changes that drive environmental changes and increase and nudge people towards healthier environments. So Singapore is a great example of the work. So the Power Nine, this is coined from Blue Zones and focuses really on the commonalities amongst the 5 Blue Zones areas. So it's the essence of longevity and happiness. And I'm just going to take you down a little bit of a deep dive into what each one of these 9 pillars mean, and really, the focus of what can be implemented into each person's daily life to drive longevity and wellness. So the first one we have is moving naturally. So what Dan found really was in these areas, it wasn't necessarily about, what we think of as the world's longest lived people. They weren't pumping iron, they weren't running marathons or joining gyms. That was not how they were practicing natural movement. So you kind of wonder, how do they move naturally throughout their day and what does that look like? So instead, they're surrounded in environments that constantly nudge them into moving without thinking about it. So examples of this would be, walking or biking to a local restaurant or grocery store, farming or gardening. Do these areas have something like a safe routes to school plan in which children are able to walk safely to school versus riding a bus or utilizing a car to get safely to school? How are they moving naturally throughout their day? The second Power 9 is purpose. So Okinawans call it ikigai, and then Nicoyans call it plan de vida. For both, it translates to why I wake up in the morning. So what they found is that really knowing your sense of purpose is worth up to 7 years of extra life expectancy. So finding your why and living longer with purpose really adds to many, many more years of your life. So I would encourage you to take some time to kind of identify your purpose or think about the last time that you've thought about what your purpose is. And I think purpose for everyone means something different and can change from hour to hour or day to day or year to year, depending on your goals. But it's really the reason in which you are waking up in the morning and what is giving you purpose to your day. They found that downshifting was one of the pillars, and even people in the blue zones experience stress. So even people that, Dan came across were experiencing stress. But what was found is that stress leads to chronic inflammation associated with almost every major age-related disease. So I like to think of downshifting as self-care. We hear that term very often, and I think it's becoming more and more popular. But what was really different in the areas of the blue zones was what they did with their stress. So the world's longest lived people, what they have that we don't have is they have routines to shed their stress. So for example, Okinawans take a few moments each day to remember their ancestors, and Adventists pray, and Icarians take a nap, and Sardinians do happy hour. So they take time to do things like enjoying meals with loved ones. They take time to downshift and really come up with a routine that works for them to be implementing a way to, take time to kind of rejuvenate their soul and be able to, continue on and be refreshed. And I would encourage, anyone on this Zoom tonight to kind of evaluate what you do in your life to downshift or for self-care, and encourage you to find a routine that feels right for you, even if it's something like meditation or going for a walk or making an intentional choice to spend time with family or enjoy a meal, mindfulness activities, anything that really feels right for you. The 80% rule, this is called Harahachibu, and it was found in the Okinawan 2,500-year-old Confucian mantra, which is a mantra that's said before meals, and it reminds them to stop eating when their stomachs are 80% full. So I like to think of this as mindful eating. I feel like we are in such a rushed culture where sometimes it's really hard to mindfully eat. But what they found was that there's a 20% gap between not being hungry and feeling full. And really that could be the difference between losing weight or gaining it. So it's something to definitely keep in mind. Plant slant. So Blue Zones, does not believe in any specific. They're not pushing any type of diet, but they did find that in these areas that, you know, I think in comparison, when I'm looking at, what kind of diet is being eaten in these 5 areas of the world, and then in comparison to the standard American diet, it looks very different. A plant slant, focuses more on beans and lentils. Their meat portions are really only eaten about 5 times per month, and that's mostly pork. And when the meat is eaten, the serving size is about 3 to 4 ounces, which is about a size of a deck of cards. So I think when just reflecting on that and how much we eat, every day, and how much meat we are implementing into our diets, how much are we eating, how often, what is the ounces that we are consuming each day, and how does that compare to the plant slant principle? And are there ways we can implement beans and whole grain pasta and tofu and different sources of plant-based protein into our diets? Wine at 5. So people in all Blue Zones, except for the Adventists, drink alcohol moderately and regularly. So moderate drinkers outlive non-drinkers. But really, it's not just drinking wine at 5. It's drinking among community and in community with others that makes the difference. So the trick, they say, is to drink 1 to 2 glasses of wine per day. Preferably a Sardinian Cannonau wine with friends and or with food. Belong. So all but 5 of the 263 centenarians were interviewed belonged to some faith-based community. So faith was huge in these areas. Denomination didn't seem to matter. But research shows that really attending a faith-based service 4 times per month will add about 4 to 14 years of life expectancy. So it's a large range, but it adds quite a few amount of years onto your life expectancy. And I think there's been a ton of research that's been coming out lately, specifically, I think since COVID, that really shows that when people are socially disconnected, their risk of anxiety and depression increases. So it's a huge impact on mental health. It also has an impact on the physical health of things like heart disease and dementia, as well as, stroke symptoms. Loved ones first. So successful centenarians in the Blue Zones really put their families first. This means really keeping their aging parents and grandparents nearby or in the home. And it lowers disease and mortality rates of children in the home too. So what they have found is a lot of individuals in these areas commit to a life partner, which they found can add up to about 3 years of life expectancy, and invest in their children, with time and love. So they'll be more likely to care for you when the time comes. So I think thinking about how often are we seeing our family? What is our role in our family system? How many times do we really, make plans with our family and are truly, truly present and put our loved ones first? This also could be something that, you implement as a downshifting activity. So being able to, be mindful and present and surround yourself with the people that you love first, whether it's your immediate family or your friends that have become family, whatever that looks like for you. Positive pack. So the world's longest lived people chose or were born into social circles that supported healthy behaviors. And Okinawans created moaus, which are groups of 5 friends that committed to each other for life. So this was a very, very close-knit friendship circle that these individuals were normally born into, and it was a group of people committed to going through life's ups and downs and being a, support system throughout the life cycle. So research really shows that smoking, obesity, happiness, and even loneliness are contagious. So the social networks of long-lived people have favorably shaped their healthy behaviors. I think questioning, who do you surround yourself with? Are they building you up? Are they bringing you down? Are there opportunities in which you can create a tight-knit moau in your own community? It's never too late to kind of branch off and do this. And it connects people and brings people together, providing opportunities that may not have happened otherwise. These are pictures of vision boards or purpose boards, I guess you could call them. Since getting this job at Blue Zones, I decided in the year 2025 to host a quarterly moau amongst a group of girlfriends I've had for many years and invited some, additional friendships into that circle. And really, created 4 dates throughout the year of 2025 in which we are going to engage in a moau in the Lehigh Valley. So our first activity had a lot to do with vision board planning for the 2025 year, what we were hoping to see. Individuals cut out different words or inspirational photos or travel and posted them on a vision board and put them someplace to reflect on for the year to come. I also, additionally, the 3 coming in the future, one of them is a walking moau. So there's no right or wrong way to do this. But it's a great intentional way, I think, to bring a group of people together. A lot of times like-minded people in which can be your support system going forward and really commit to time spent together in fellowship and community with one another. So now we are going to go on to the life radius. So in the original Blue Zones, there were, areas in which were found that residents were able to make healthy choices, not because the choices were necessarily easy, they were able to make healthy choices because those choices were easy and they were even unavoidable in their surroundings. So their environment really, nudged them into the direction of being able to make the healthy choice the easy choice. So instead of really focusing just on the individual, Blue Zones Activate focuses on optimizing the environment. And the life radius is really the area, close to each person's home where Americans spend 90% of their time. So when looking at this life radius, and identifying where, each person spends the most of their time in Bethlehem, we're really focusing on policy changes to influence environmental changes that drive increased health and happiness and well-being. So the built environment is either going to encourage or discourage healthy behaviors by making things like walking or things like cycling or outdoor activities convenient, comfortable, and safe. So when we don't really have a role in building our environment, it tends to get built for us, and not always in the healthiest ways. So what we've really been spending a lot of time doing is, a lot of discovery and evaluation of Bethlehem, areas in which we can look at policy changes or recommendations and really implement positive, healthy, encouraging nudges towards, making an environment one in which is easy to thrive in and which makes the healthy choice the easy choice. So many individuals may think, why Bethlehem? We are in 81 cities currently for Blue Zone activates as well as projects. And so why the Lehigh Valley? Why Bethlehem? So a little bit of history or backstory on that. Blue Zones was engaged last year to conduct a readiness and feasibility study in Allentown. And based off of those strengths and opportunities identified during that assessment, a formal proposal was really made to move forward with Allentown, but also, add in the neighboring Lehigh Valley cities of Bethlehem and Easton. So there was much opportunity, specifically, within the 3 different cities from a regional approach. And we are really, really grateful for our sponsors to be able to support this going forward in the next several years. Lehigh Valley Health Network really was, so pivotal in making this happen. And it really is excited to be sponsoring this project in partnership with the City Center Group, which is a group of individuals in Allentown that own, a lot of the apartment complexes in Allentown, the Leonard Parker Pool Institute for Health, which works with Lehigh Valley Health Network, and the Lehigh Valley Phantoms, which is the hockey team in Allentown. So we are very, very fortunate to have the sponsorship of these, 4 places, and it's really allowing this project to be able to go forward in the Lehigh Valley. So Blue Zones Activate Bethlehem. It is an intensive 3-year initiative, so it's a well-being initiative designed to accelerate community-endorsed change, delivering healthier environments through transformation. So what exactly, does that mean, and how do we be able to deliver that from a Blue Zones perspective to the city of Bethlehem? Well, there's a couple different areas we focus on. So Blue Zones Activate in Bethlehem is focused on both the built environment and food systems, so 2 different policy areas. And within those policy areas, the built environment really focuses on evidence-based strategies for lasting change within these 4 areas. So promoting natural movement, encouraging social gathering places, complete neighborhoods, and increasing housing options. And what that really means is when we look at promoting natural movement, how are residents of Bethlehem getting from place A to B? How are we incorporating physical activity into our daily life? Rather than having structured exercise, are we able to get, from point A to point B safely? So we went through a discovery process back in December, and we're able to look at things like pedestrian and bicycle facilities, sidewalks and crossings, bicycle lanes and trails and their accessibility. We were able to take our subject matters through encouraging social gathering places through that, those spaces of, are there available spaces in Bethlehem that foster, community gathering places? And how are those community events being held? Where are people gathering? What is the safety and conditions of those areas? We looked at things like complete neighborhoods. So really offering residents options on where and how to live, work, shop, play, learn, worship, and get around. So we looked at things like, what do those areas currently look like? Are there opportunities for examples, including wayfinding signs or benches, shade structures, planters, better lighting to feel more safe in certain areas? So, and then we also looked at increasing housing options. What kind of housing is being offered, and is there a range of housing, and what does that look like? So those are the 4 policy areas in which our discovery report was kind of built off of, and the lens in which our subject matter experts were working through during this discovery process. And then we have food systems, which looks, more focused on food. So looking at building food skills, making healthy food accessible and affordable for everyone, increasing healthy food environments, growing the local food supply. So when we're looking at building food skills, we're looking at it from a lens of, how is education prioritized on how we grow and cook healthy food? And does that really foster opportunities for families to eat together? Is there opportunity to advance or strengthen people's food skills, to be able to equip them, to be able to select and prepare healthy food? and implement and advance the nutritional quality of their daily food choices. When we're looking at food accessibility, we look at, what do the current healthy hunger relief programs look like? What is the accessibility of that? And opportunities as well as barriers, increasing healthy food options and environments. We did a lot, at looking at different sectors of, children in, K to 12 environments or on college campuses, increasing healthy eating behaviors in hospitals and public institutions and what the current state of that looks like, as well as growing the local food supply. So, how is the utilization of public land and planning used to enable food production by local residents? How is that then available for local residents? Is there a sustainable program to be able to get, food from farms and farmers to individuals' kitchens? And is there food skills there for people to know then how to cook those foods? So those are the four lenses in which our food systems subject matter expert was creating the discovery report based off of. So where are we going? So I talked a little bit about our discovery week, which was back in December. And just so that you have a little bit more context or background of that, this is when we had our subject matter experts in both the built environment and food systems come in and spend the week with us, exploring the Bethlehem community. We offered and did a windshield tour with them of all the applicable built environment as well as food systems places. We met with local stakeholders to have many conversations. We had a community meeting in which we welcomed, individuals in the community for feedback. And then based off of that, all of this information got condensed into a discovery report, which was then later available to the community, which outlined really the strengths of Bethlehem, any barriers or recommendations, and the policy area recommendations going forward. So there was a whole selection of many different policy areas in which there was an opportunity to vote on them at the summit. We created a steering committee with pivotal stakeholders, including local organizations, and we meet with them every month to kind of go over our initiatives and continue kind of the transformative work that is going to be happening in the upcoming phase. And then we had a summit, which was an opportunity for the community to come back together for a community meeting following that discovery report and vote on the policy recommendation areas in which the community of Bethlehem would like to see implemented in the next 2.5 years. So we are at a very exciting time. There's a lot of work that has happened behind the scenes up until this point, and we're really at an exciting point going forward. We are awaiting really, our blueprint and action plan, which will basically write my job description for the next 2.5 years in the work that we are going to be doing for Blue Zones Activate in Bethlehem. We will be coming up with action teams to be able to, implement and be the doers of that work. And we will be hosting a kickoff event in June, which will really inform the community and promote a Blue Zone lifestyle, as well as inform the community of these policy areas we're going to be focusing on. So it's a very exciting time. And really, I'm so excited to inform the community through this webinar tonight of our Blue Zones Activate kickoff event. So this event, mark your calendars, will be held June 7th from 1 to 4. So that is a Saturday. And many of you may be very, very familiar with the cocktail trails or the soup trails or chocolate trails through downtown Bethlehem. So this is going to follow that model, but it's going to be a well-being trail, really that promotes the Blue Zones lifestyle. And we're going to be focusing on the core 4 of the Power 9, which is moving, connecting, having, finding your purpose and eating wisely. So we will be doing a trail tour. It is a free event. It will start at the Sun and Courtyard. We'll have live music there. We'll have a check-in. You'll get a passport, and then it will have multiple stops throughout downtown Bethlehem, in which, we will provide local samples for eating wisely. We will have connect and purpose activities as you move naturally throughout the downtown. And then there will be opportunity to come back together at the Sun and Courtyard at the end of the trail, and there will be a live salsa band and salsa classes, and it is just going to be a really great day. So we hope you can join us in some capacity. I will put this up here. So this is the Blue Zones Activate Bethlehem kickoff. There are multiple going on. There is a Blue Zones Activate Allentown kickoff that's coming up. That's right around the corner. In April, this is our Bethlehem kickoff, and there's also a Easton kickoff. So the invitations we tried to make them different in which, they didn't cause any confusion as to when each city's was being held, but there are 3 different kickoff events. You can scan the QR code, hopefully through the Zoom, for that kickoff event to be able to RSVP to it. We are offering a gift card to the first 50 people that complete the passport. So that's exciting, as well as great giveaways throughout the day. And if you have any interest in volunteering, we would love to welcome you to volunteer with us. You can scan the QR code here, or I'll have my email at the end of this presentation that you can send me an email and have the opportunity to volunteer with us. We would be so grateful for your time if it's something that you feel called to or feels in alignment with what we kind of went over and discussed today. And I just wanted to bring this to everyone's attention. Live to 100, The Secrets of the Blue Zones. This is a Netflix documentary that's available. And I would really encourage everyone, if you found interest in this presentation tonight and you want to learn more and you want to have kind of a more complex narrative of each of those 5 blue zones, it's such a great documentary. We aired it at Arts Quest. The Allentown team had an event there several weeks ago, and it was a great turnout. And if you weren't able to come to that, you can watch it in the comfort of your own home. And I would just encourage you to check that out if it's of interest to you. And then the Bethlehem Co-op Market is having a free event called Community in Bloom. So this is a springtime pop-up event, having, local food and artisan vendors along with activities. This is April 13th from 1 to 4 at the Ice House. So if you can join, that would be wonderful. And then I am going to stop talking. I apologize. I've been talking at you for a long time here, but I will open up the floor to questions. And again, if you're interested in volunteering at our kickoff event, that is my email there. If you have questions about Blue Zones that we don't get to tonight or that come up, days following this presentation, please don't hesitate to ever reach out, and I would be happy to answer them to the best of my knowledge. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Lauren.